We all grapple with this idea of failure, right?
Sure.
Especially with something personal, like weight loss. That feeling like you're just weak or lack discipline.
Totally. Like you've somehow messed up fundamentally.
Exactly. But what if? What if that whole perspective is wrong? What if those moments we label failure are actually, you know, packed with insights?
That's exactly what we're exploring today. We're doing a deep dive into the thinking of Dan Hollis based on a whole collection of sources about his work.
Okay.
And he really turns this idea of setbacks and success on its head, not just for weight management, but, well, for life, really.
So our mission today is to kind of distill the key ideas from these sources, give you fresh perspective on things like weight loss, sure, but also emotional hunger, resilience, without it feeling overwhelming.
Yeah, like a shortcut to getting the core message, this powerful new way of thinking.
And there's this interesting idea from Hollis to start us off. He hints that maybe real progress doesn't start when everything's going smoothly. It might actually begin when things get quiet, when the usual noise dies down.
Yeah, when the truth has space to, well, show up.
Okay, let's get into that.
Yeah.
So often, trying to manage weight, you hit a snag, you fall off the wagon, and it feels like this massive personal failing.
Lack of willpower.
Yeah, that's the standard story, yeah.
How does Dan Hollis flip that? What's his core take on failure?
He completely reframes it. Hollis says something like, failure isn't the end, it's a message, a moment of feedback. And sometimes he adds, it's the most honest conversation you'll ever have with yourself.
Wow. So not a judgment, but data.
Exactly. Just pure information telling you something important.
Which means, okay, if you have what feels like a relapse,
Right.
It's not you being flawed.
Nope. He describes it more like the brain just asking for an old familiar pattern, a rhythm it knows.
Okay.
And he warns that ignoring that signal, just pushing through without understanding, doesn't just lead to another slip-up, it can cause a fracture.
A fracture. What does he mean by that? I think he means you break the connection with your own inner signals. You stop trusting yourself, you create this disconnect. So a breakdown isn't about you being broken.
Right.
It often means your support system needs strengthening or there's a deeper need not being met.
That makes sense.
And this is key. Hollis actually calls setbacks sacred. If you approach them with curiosity, not judgment, he has this great quote, the shame isn't in failing. The shame is in pretending you were supposed to be perfect.
Oof. That hits home. It really shifts things. So how do we build grace, as he puts it, into this process? And what's this failing forward idea?
Well, grace comes when you stumble, and instead of blaming yourself, you look for a better tool, a different approach. That's how you start failing forward.
Okay, what does that look like practically? Failing forward.
It means you. You stumble, right?
Sure.
You fail. Instead of beating yourself up and giving up, you immediately ask, okay, what did I learn here? What's the next tiny step I can take using this new information? It's about using that setback as fuel for the very next action, making the mistake a launch pad.
Not a dead end.
Exactly. So as you're listening, think about the story you tell yourself about your own setbacks. Is it helping you move forward or is it keeping you stuck?
That's a powerful question.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's something external that helps create space for that shift. Which brings us to semaglutide.
Right. Ozempic, Wegovy. People know the names.
Yeah, it's a GLP-1 medication. Originally for diabetes, now really well known for weight loss.
And what's fascinating is how Hollis views it. He doesn't buy into the magic bullet or cheating narrative at all.
Wow.
No. He calls it things like a window, a pause, a breather. He actually says semaglutide isn't cheating, it's adaptation. The real cheat is pretending willpower was enough.
That's a strong take.
Yeah.
So for Hollis, it's more than just a drug that helps you lose weight. He calls it a silencer.
Yeah.
What gets silenced? And what does he mean by the truth showing up in that silence?
Yeah.
Why is that the critical part?
He argues its real power isn't just the weight coming off, it's that it quiets the constant food noise, the cravings, the obsessive thoughts. And this creates a kind of mental quiet, and that quiet space is essential for doing deeper work. He puts it bluntly. The real work begins when the cravings stop. That's when the truth shows up.
The truth about what, though?
About what was underneath the noise, what the food was maybe covering up.
Okay, but if it creates this valuable silence, what's the catch? He has a warning,
A
right?
huge one. He says most people aren't failing semaglutide. They're failing to prepare for what comes after it.
Ah, so it's not a permanent solution in itself.
It's a tool, a powerful one that creates an opportunity, but you have to actively use that opportunity. It doesn't do the internal work for you.
Right. So when that food noise dials down, what fills the space? Hollis talks about emotional hunger.
Yeah, and that's different from just, your stomach rumbling.
How so? He says it sounds like a craving, but it's actually a question, a need asking to be seen. What does that mean?
It connects back to the silence. When the constant physical drive for food lessens, thanks to something like semaglutide, the other reasons you eat become much clearer.
Like boredom, stress.
Exactly. Loneliness, anxiety, even sometimes using food to manage positive feelings like celebration. If food was acting as your, let's say, emotional scaffolding, taking it away can feel really destabilizing, really exposed.
And Hollis says that exposure, that discomfort, isn't bad.
No, he'd say that's precisely where the potential for change lies. His framework involves learning to spot signal confusion.
Single confusion. Can you break that down? How do you separate it?
Think of it like this. Your body sends a signal, maybe a feeling of emptiness or unease. Is that actual physical hunger?
Or is it something else entirely?
Right. Is it boredom? Stress. Loneliness masking itself as hunger. Signal confusion is when you mistake that emotional need for a physical one. Hollis teaches you to pause when the craving hits. Acknowledge it, don't just react. Then ask, okay, what's really going on here? What am I truly needing? It's about decoding the message beneath the surface craving.
So the medication doesn't solve the emotional eating.
No. As Hollis says, semaglutide isn't the solution to emotional eating, it's the silence that lets you find one. That silence gives you the clarity to see the real issue.
This feels like where Hollis really departs from just diet advice. He's not focused on willpower.
Not at all. He actually points out why many people struggle long-term, even with tools like semaglutide. It's not usually because the drug stopped working.
Why that?
Because, as he puts it, no one helped them rewrite the rituals that define their identity.
Rewrite the rituals that define their identity. What does that involve?
Well, he draws this really important distinction between trying to control yourself and building connection. He says, you didn't lose control, you lost connection.
Connection to what?
To your actual hunger cues, maybe your sense of purpose, connection to yourself. And that's what needs rebuilding. So rewriting a ritual isn't just about white-knuckling through a craving.
Okay. So give me an example.
All right, say your go-to ritual after a super stressful workday was always collapsing with a big comfort meal or lots of snacks.
Yeah, sounds familiar.
Rewriting that ritual might mean consciously deciding, okay, stress response kicking in, instead of food, tonight I'm going to take a 10-minute walk first. Or journal, or call a friend. You're building a new intentional response that aligns better with who you want to be.
You're replacing the old pattern, not just trying to resist it.
Exactly, which leads right into his alignment principle. This is huge. He says, you don't hold on to weight loss with discipline. You hold on to it with alignment.
Alignment, meaning?
Meaning your actions need to align with your identity. You have to replace the story you tell yourself, not just the snack you eat.
Oh.
Biology, maybe helped by medication, can give you a head start. Quiet the physical noise, that's the what. But the how, the lasting change, comes from shifting your identity.
So moving from, say, I'm someone who always struggles with food, to what?
To maybe, I'm someone who listens to my body's needs, or I'm someone who finds healthy ways to cope with stress. When your actions line up with that core belief about yourself, the new habits stick much more easily. They feel authentic.
It's not about forcing yourself into a mold.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So ultimately, this whole approach Dan Hollis teaches, it isn't about hitting a specific number on the scale or becoming some idealized version of a person.
It sounds much deeper than that.
It absolutely is. It's about building a life where food isn't your primary coping mechanism, where you finally have the mental and emotional bandwidth to figure out who you actually are underneath all that noise.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. The big shift we've talked about today.
Yeah, it's moving from seeing failure as this dead end, this judgment.
To seeing it as feedback. Valuable data.
Right. And shifting from viewing something like semaglutide as just a weight loss drug or even cheating.
To understanding it as potentially this incredible pause. A space for self-discovery, for rebuilding things internally.
Exactly. A miracle pause, as you put it.
So the invitation here, especially if you're using or thinking about using these tools, don't just focus on the pounds dropping.
Right. Lean into that window it creates. Use the quiet.
Ask yourself those deeper questions. What am I really hungry for underneath it all?
And maybe, now that food isn't filling that gap quite so much, what parts of my life need more support, more attention?
It's not about a quick fix, clearly.
No, but it can be that crucial pause, that moment of clarity you need to actually choose a different path, one built on really understanding yourself.
And as Hollis emphasizes, this kind of healing, it isn't loud or dramatic.
No, it's quiet. It's intentional. It's built on empathy for yourself, not judgment. On awareness, not rigid rules. Curiosity, not punishment.
And that mindset, that approach,
Yeah.
it really goes way beyond just weight loss, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It affects how you handle any setback in life.
Absolutely. So maybe the final thought for you to consider is, where else in your life could you benefit from this idea of failing forward? Where else might listening to the silence instead of the noise help you find your own truth?